Yo, what's up, everyone? Back for a Week 15 NFL video. Missed last week. Sorry about that, but only 3 weeks left of the regular season. I had to make a video for tomorrow, so let's get right into it. You can drop a like down below and subscribe if you have not already. 13 games this Sunday. It's a lot of different ways to go on the slate. There's not a ton of just chalk, especially at the wide receiver position. Lots of value plays, lots of, you do have your spend up options. Starting off here at quarterback, the guy that I'm looking at, is I like this Houston-Tennessee game. Tennessee's favored. They've been playing great over the past couple weeks, basically since Tannehill took over. He is facing this Houston defense that got absolutely slaughtered by Drew Lock, making one of his few starts of his career and make one of his first starts of his career, and they were at home in that game. Now they're going into Tennessee. The Titans have been rolling, putting up big scores in terms of their offense. Tannehill's been a huge part of that. He has 30 fantasy points 2 out of the last 3 weeks. He has not been throwing many interceptions, and he has been running the ball a little bit more, which is nice to see. He has 3 rushing touchdowns on the year. He's not going to take off a ton, but 4 or 5 rushing attempts per game. And even though they don't throw the ball a ton, this is a spot where you can definitely target this Houston secondary. And Derrick Henry is dealing with a hamstring injury, so I could see them, even if he's going to play, I could see them limit his workload a little bit just to keep him healthy, because the last thing they want is for him to re-aggravate that hamstring injury and miss multiple weeks, because they're still in the thick of things here in the AFC. So I like Ryan Tannehill a lot at 6,500. Over at running back, I was going to be interested in Henry a lot, but his hamstring injury, I don't think he is. Well, I loved him because the matchup is solid, but it's a little scary. I mean, especially if you're going to be putting a lot of money on the week. I don't know if you want to ride it on Henry, but if he's going to play and he says he's good to go, then I think he could be a decent option. It's a really good matchup, though. But for some safe value, I think for some safer options that are a little bit cheaper, maybe Chris Carson this week. I like him a lot. 7,500 facing this terrible Panthers rush defense, one of the worst in the league. We saw 2 weeks ago, Darius Geis and Adrian Peterson both have big games against this team, and the Seahawks love to run the ball. Rashad Penny is out for the year, so it's going to be Chris Carson getting a lot of the work. 20-plus carries on the ground with a few passes out of the backfield is pretty solid workload. I'm expecting around 25 touches, and last week it got out of hand. They had to throw the ball a lot, so even in that kind of game script, he still saw your floor of about 15 carries. He's going to get all the goal line work, and without Penny in there, should get at least some passing down work. They don't really have any other pass catching back that they feel comfortable with. So Chris Carson, 7,500, just a really good matchup for him. And then I think you can, Barkley's probably going to get a lot of ownership this week. If you want to pivot, then you could go to Carson, who might still be popular. But there are 2 options that I like, and then Todd Gurley's just really cheap at 6,000. They said that he is going to kind of be let loose in the last 4 games of the regular season. He's going to take over the workhorse mentality, and he definitely kind of did that last week. Got 27 touches, which is nice. With Todd Gurley, all you really need is touches. Hopefully he's gonna break 1 or 2 every game. It's just, in these weeks in the middle of the year when he was getting 10 touches, 12 touches, and his price tag was up there, no need to pay him. But now this game, it's in Dallas. It's a huge game for both teams, and Gurley is going to get some work. The Cowboys have been a lot worse against running backs than wide receivers, and Gurley can still catch passes out of the backfield, which is nice. That hasn't been getting targeted a ton, but I think should get that, especially since now he's going to be playing basically all 3 downs as much as he can handle until he needs a couple breaks here and there during the game. But $6K for Todd Gurley, I'll definitely be interested in him. And then over at wide receiver, there are some big injury news. Mike Evans is going to miss the rest of the year probably. So, Chris Godwin's probably going to get a ton of ownership. I think Godwin's fine. He's probably going to get it's not a great matchup here. It's especially if he's guarded by Slay. It's a good matchup overall. They've been bad against wide receivers, but he might have a tougher individual matchup this week. I don't mind spending in the mid-range at wide receiver this week and going for the value and paying up at running back like Devontae Parker, now that he is back here, his price tag came down a lot, so by $500, I'll be going to him against his terrible Giants defense, especially in the secondary. Last week he got hurt right in the beginning of the game, which was a shame if you had him. But if you didn't have him, then I think this is a week to get back on him. He has been crushing it this whole year, basically, and then since he became the number one option. I mean, just look at these targets before he got hurt last week. 10, 10, 11, 10. Getting that kind of production and that kind of volume for a mid-range wide receiver is just a huge bargain against one of the worst secondaries in the league. Love Devontae Parker. And then Chark's out. I don't know if you want to. That's going to benefit anyone, really. I mean, they could probably split it with Conley. Marquise Lee is still, I believe he's still on the team. Hasn't really done much. Maybe he's not on the team. But they have Conley. They have Keelan Cole. So, I mean, you can take your pick with maybe Westbrook's probably my favorite at $4,600. It's a nice price tag. He's been involved in the offense the whole year. So he's one way to go. But I like also, for the Eagles side, I mean, being an Eagles fan, I kind of know that they are absolutely depleted, and they have nobody really in the passing game. But Greg Ward is definitely my preferred option over Arcega-Whiteside. I mean, Arcega-Whiteside has gotten some opportunities throughout the year. He might be a little bit more popular than Greg Ward, which is what I like to see. But I like Greg Ward here. Cheaper, might be lower owned. And last week he got 9 targets compared to like 3 for Whiteside. I mean, not Whiteside. Arcega-White. For JJ, what's the last? Whatever, but you got more targets here. At 3,000, he also dropped a touchdown pass from Carson Wentz. It went right off his hands. I would have gave him some more work. I mean, that would have gave him like 13 to 15 fantasy points. But, yeah, it is Whiteside. So, $3K for Ward. Definitely liking him as one of my better value wide receivers this week. And then right here, you have a couple cheapies as well, like Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen at only $6,300. Go down to A.J. Brown, another guy that I'm really high on. I mean, he definitely blew up last week. He had a 91-yard reception for a touchdown. But he has been having some great chemistry with Ryan Tannehill. He's had his best games basically since Tannehill took over. I mean, he had one good game, but that was on 3 catches with Mariota. But since Tannehill's been in there, he's really locked in on A.J. Brown. He hasn't really looked to anybody else in terms of wide receiver, and they are going to be missing Adam Humphries again. So just more volume, more looks going to like A.J. Brown, who's still very affordable and cheap at $6K. He has massive upside. And this Houston defense, I mean, last week they got lit up by Drew Lock. They've been getting lit up all year in terms of the passing game. If Henry's limited or if he's not the same, then should be a lot of looks for A.J. Brown, and they should have to rely on Tannehill a lot more. So that's my DraftKings look. And then for tight ends, I'm looking at Ertz. Just naming some of my favorites. It's Kittle, Ertz, Tyler Higbee, $3,900. Just been awesome. And I'm been getting a ton of, we know Everett's out again, so he's just been getting a ton of looks, and it's a decent matchup. Not a great one, but I mean, the way he's been looking, I don't mind going to him at $3,900. And that's kind of it for tight end, I think. Either if you're paying up for Ertz or Kittle. If you're paying down, it's probably going to be for Higbee, $3,900. And then don't really see the need to go super cheap because you do have some value at wide receiver. And then defense, if you're paying all the way up, it's the Patriots by a mile. Mid-range this week, I'm loving the Chiefs defense, $3,500 at home. I like the, scroll down a little bit more, maybe you could go to the Titans just because they are facing, they're at home, which I like. They are decent at getting some pressure on the quarterback, and we know that the Houston Texans don't have a good offensive line. But this game does have one of the higher totals, so that's not like one of my favorite plays on the day. And then if you want to punt, there's not a ton, really. I mean, they did a pretty good job of pricing here, but we know defenses tend to be one of the most random positions, defense and special teams. I mean, if you get a punt return touchdown, you make value with your defense. So maybe you could look at, to be honest, not a lot. Maybe the Giants, but I don't really see them. They're a terrible defense, so I think it's mainly the Patriots and the Chiefs defense for me. Those two stick off the page, stand off the board, and that's pretty much it. Maybe the Rams, 2,900. So that's what I liking for DraftKings. And then Fanduel, pretty much the same kind of deal. Quarterback, I like Tannehill again, 7,600. Same reasons I mentioned on DraftKings. On FanDuel, our running back, I'm loving Dalvin Cook, 8,500. Really, really nice price tag on him, cheaper than he is on DraftKings. He also is going to get, hopefully, more work with Madison out. Madison last week, he's been the clear backup to Cook and been stealing some rushes away. He got 14 carries. That game did kind of get out of hand late. So I should see Dalvin Cook get back up to his 20-plus rushes. He was also a little bit banged up in that game, or heading into last week. But this week, hasn't been on the injury report. And without Madison, I should see him get 25-ish touches. And he has upside to, get 30 touches. And just one of the best running backs in the football at a really nice price point. And then besides him, I think you can go back to Carson, another nice price tag on FanDuel, 7,400. Just the volume's going to be there. The matchup's good. I mean, he could have some down weeks if he doesn't get into the end zone. But I do think that it's one of the better spots for him to get into the end zone. And as long as he doesn't fumble the ball a couple times and lose like 4 fantasy points, then I should see him hit around 3 to 4x value. And a wide receiver, I am liking the same kind of guys I mentioned on DraftKings. I mean, usually when I'm making one lineup for both sites, unless there's like clear pricing differences, I kind of like to play the same players because it's, when I'm winning some money on one side, I kind of like to do the same on the other side. And it's easier to root for the players. Just what I like. But so Parker, I'm liking Parker. Brown, really nicely priced on FanDuel, 6,200. And then Greg Ward, it's Greg Ward season if you're an Eagles fan. He is the number one option on this team in depth chart. Maybe Whiteside is, or Sega Whiteside, but Greg Ward and everybody that watches the Eagles at least has some talent. And got 9 targets, could see that go even up this week. So that's pretty much it. Liking the same defenses that I mentioned on DraftKings. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it. You can drop the like if you enjoyed. And good luck this week.